questions that are actually something that we know. This is not something I need to teach you or to give you advice on how to handle. Much more interesting it becomes when you have the questions that are very challenging and you still need to come on top of them. My expertise comes from PR, so I am used to train executives that go in front of the media. There's always looking for a story. And the way media works, they need to find something on you that is going to create a headline. Headline is not going to come out of you answering properly to a question that was very easy fed to you. A question or a headline is going to come from a question that put you in a position where you didn't know how to answer, or you got really cornered, and it's something that really intimidated you. And that's what becomes a media story. So by working with a lot of executives and startup founders that were put in that situation, I'm going to share 3 tips with you today that are going to help you to handle those disruptions. So what we want for questions is always build rapport, because when somebody feels that they can ask you a question, they are actually establishing a bridge between themselves and you and allowing you to know that they have interest in your subject. And also it helps you add credibility because they want to know more about your subject that you are presenting. And in this case, something that you can give them more insight in case you didn't cover that in your presentation. And that is the good scenario, because a lot of times it happens that a question is not going to ask you about your subject, but is going to express frustration, is going to try to embarrass you, is going to be somebody who wants to show off. How many times you've had, well, I just wanted to ask you because, and then they go into a whole life story about themselves. So they are just showing off their expertise, completely undermining yours. Or they want to take control of the agenda, of the entire narrative. Do not take the bait. And do not engage into that narrative that they want to set for you. Be smarter than that. And we are going to see exactly how. Acknowledge the depth of the emotion that is being put in the question, but not the emotion itself. So if we have a question that is, why doesn't your company seem to care about the blue collar? Insert the subject there that is important. So what you're going to do, you're going to acknowledge the emotion, but you're not going to give it life. So in this case, what we do is, it sounds like blue collar is really important to you. Let me stress how important blue collar is to us as well. With that shared objective, here's what we do for that. So this is a way to handle something that wants to be a hostile type of question, but this is how you navigate and you help shape that question into a shared objective that you actually can answer to. The second trick is to appear a bit confused, especially when a question is very challenging or hostile, and buy yourself time and space. And how you do that is by actually saying that, I didn't quite understand the question you're asking. Could you please reframe it in another way? This is going to give you 2 things. The first thing is going to obviously buy you time to think of a proper answer to that question. And the second thing is going to give that person an opportunity to phrase the question in another way that is not as challenging or aggressive. And that is going to actually help you understand even better the question that they are curious to find out. The third trick is to only speak for yourself. A lot of times when we speak on behalf of our company, we represent an industry or we represent that company. And a lot of times there are multiple views. That's why you see on Twitter or on other social media, when somebody is working for a bigger company, they say views are my own and not necessarily shared by my organization. Because that is a lot of times a way to get someone and make, again, a new story out of that when they ask a question about that industry's position or about that industry or about that company's position in a certain challenging situation. So when you speak only for yourself and you get the question of, why doesn't the management of your company seem to care about blue collar? In this case, only speak for yourself. I can't speak for all management, but I can tell you what I have done to support blue collar over the past year. And this is how you shift the attention from something that might have a negative narrative to it, something that the company has done, and you really focus on what you can answer and be fully responsible this moment and right now. But these are just some tips and tricks that are going to actually give you a way to look at something that is tackling the presentation in terms of questions that are a little bit more challenging. And that is something to set the stage for our more advanced level. So when we think of the questions, All I want you to remember are three types of questions for you to focus on and practice your delivery in a way to handle them as well as the distractions. So there are three types of questions. One is when you don't know the answer to that question, and that happens. Second is when you can't give an answer because actually either it's confidentiality or for other various reasons. Or the type of questions that are gotcha questions when you are guilty as charged. So what do we do in those questions? A lot of times I've heard the advice of trying to anticipate all the questions that might come after your presentation. And that's a good enough, so to speak, technique. But it's no way for you to be able to anticipate all the questions that are going to come at you. So if you concentrate on these three questions and these three mechanics and understand the mechanics behind these three variations, this is going to give you the confidence to go out there and face all the challenging questions that are going to come at you in a presentation.